Welcome to Math Today. So we start another awesome unit. We're going to be working with geometry in this unit, and today we're going to start first with doing a little bit of work with converting customary units of measure, feet, inches, ounces, stuff like that we normally use every day. And then next lesson we'll be doing metric. And let's get started after you. I've now blabbled long enough that you got your goal down in today's date and page number. Here's your warm-up. Let's see if you can come up with the first 5 multiples of the following numbers, and you can actually count the number you see here as the first multiple. So you can count 3 for the multiples of 3, 12, and so on. Come back when you got them, and I'll have the answers waiting for you, and you can check them to see if they're right. All right, so here are the multiples you should have gotten. Remember, multiples is just, as it sounds, multiplying up and just going by 1, then by 2, then by 3 of that number you see. So there's the multiples, the first 5 of 3, 12, 36, and 48. If you got those right, come on over and give me a high five before moving on. All right, so this unit, or this lesson today, is going to be dependent a lot on this page you see here. Knowing how to convert between all these different conversions, be able to go between all these things, the best thing to do is have this down. And I would make sure you have this down so you can use it on your notes, you can use it on your test, you could use it in the future. So this is one of the big things I'll be looking for when you come to show me your lesson at the end, that you have this. So make sure you write this table down in your notes. And really, the table is going to help you to be able to convert the information below from one customary unit to another. And when you do convert one unit of measure to another, basically what you're doing is you're multiplying by a conversion factor. So once you know how far 1 is in its length, or how much it weighs, or how much it holds, you basically are going to multiply by one of those numbers that you see there along the side. So once you have this down, you can then continue on in the video. All right, so the first example we're going to look at is using a conversion factor for feet to yards. Now, the best thing, or the easiest way to work with all these, is going back to when we worked with proportions. And I remember I told you proportions is probably the most important thing you're going to learn this year. Here's another way how you can use proportions. So let's say that we were trying to go from yards to feet. And we were trying to figure out how many feet are in 9 yards. So remember, the one thing you have to think is yards to feet is there's 3 feet for every yard. So the first ratio we're going to use is 3 feet over 1 yard. On the other ratio, to make our proportion, we put down what we do know. We do know that we have 9 yards, and that tells us that we're solving for x there. So once we have it converted, and now all we have to do is try to cancel out what we have, cross multiply, and you're done. So let me change colors here. Let's go with green. So we know 3 times 9 is 27, and that equals 1 times x, which is just x. So right away, this one's pretty easy. We find that the amount of feet in 9 yards is 27. It shows right there. So here again, we're using proportions to be able to solve for what we need. You can write down just what I did, or you can write down everything on the screen, but probably just what I did is good enough for you. Here's another example, and you don't have to write this down, but you can if you choose to. So here we're looking at how to convert 10,000 pounds to tons. So if you look back at your table, all right, so like I said, you can kind of see I've sort of set up a proportion here proportion here is already. The only thing I didn't put is, that 1,000 pounds equals 1 ton. It's a little unorganized, so that's why I just want to rewrite it again. So 10,000 pounds into a ton. Well, we know that 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. And in our scenario again, on the other side, the other ratio, We match it pounds with pounds, which is 10,000. And then all we have to do is solve for x. So when we cross multiply, you get 2,000 times x, which is 2,000x. And 10,000 times 1 is 10,000. So from here, then, we just have to divide both sides to get x alone. So we divide both sides by 2,000. And x equals, cross those out, cross those out, cross those out. 2 goes into 10 5 times. So our answer is x equals 5 tons. So no different than what we see over here, but when you think of it as a proportion, stuff that we practiced a lot, you can see it's pretty easy to do. You don't have to write this one down if you want to. All right, so we got 6 problems here, and I'm going to want you to solve all these on your own. But let's do number 1 together just to practice setting up one more proportion. So we're looking to go from 9 feet to blank inches. Well, we do already know how many feet or how many inches are in a foot. We know that 12 inches equals 1 foot. And now that we have our proportions set up, we just have to cross multiply. So 1 times x is x, and 9 times 12, well, 9 times 2 is 18, carry the 1. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So that's how many inches are in 9 feet, 108 inches. Solve for that x. Use the table that you have written down in your notes to figure out what your first ratio is before you solve the rest. Come back when you're done. So here are the answers you should have received for 2 through 6, setting up your proportion like I did for number 1 and solving for the value missing. Those are the answers you should have gotten. If you get only one wrong or none wrong, come on over and give me a fist pound. If you got more than that wrong, come over so I can help you. Please come over so I can help you to make sure you understand it. It's not a hard process, but if you're struggling to find the process, you're going to struggle with it consistently. So come to me so we can get this fixed before moving on. All right, so went and reset up all the pictures or all the slides so that we can just practice a few more here in example 2 about how to convert from using proportions. So our first problem here, and this is the one you should write down, is that we're converting 3 quarts to cups. So to convert quarts to cups, we first need to figure out how many cups are in a quart. Well, I set up our proportion by starting out with 4 cups equals 1 quart. 4 cups, 1 quart. What we're solving for is the quarts to cups, so we have to make sure everything matches across. There's 3 quarts here, so we're trying to figure out how many cups that equals. Well, when we cross multiply, we know that 3 times 4 is 12, and 1 times x is x. 1x is the same as just x. So what does that mean? Well, that means that x equals 12, or there's 12 cups to every 3 quarts. So that's how we're going to solve these. So I want you to, again, write this one down before moving on. All right, let's give it a shot again. We have 7 through 12 here. And this time what I'm going to do is I am going to help you with the first one. And then you guys are going to, or you are going to continue on your own. So the first one says there's 32 quarts to how many gallons? Well, the first thing you have to do is figure out the proportion for this capacity and know that there are 4 quarts to every 1 gallon. So 1 gallon equals 4 quarts. And we set up what we have over here, which is 32 quarts. So we got to put that on the bottom. And x gallons. Okay? So cross multiply. 4 times x is 4x. And 32 times 1 is 32. And you know to get x alone, we have to divide both sides by the coefficient next to the variable. Forgot my words there. And 4 goes into 32 8 times. So how many gallons would 32 quarts be? It'd be 8 gallons. All right, good luck finding the rest. Come back when you're ready to see the answers. And here are the answers you should have received setting up your proportions. If you got them all right, give your neighbor a high five. And of course, we're going to look at these as if we had word problems to solve, because you'll have these scenarios in real life situations. So let's look at one. So it says the football goalposts are 30 feet tall. How many inches is this? Now, I believe nowadays goalposts are actually a little taller than that, but this is good, easy math. So the first thing we have to do is figure out that what we're trying to solve for. Well, we know that the answer we're looking for is the height of the goalposts, but not in feet, in inches. So we have to list the important information we have. We could simply kind of go, well, 1 foot equals 12 inches, 2 feet is 24 inches, and all we're doing is we're multiplying by 12 each time. 3 feet, 36 inches, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on, till we get to 30 feet. Well, all that means is we're doing 12 times n. So we could set up an expression like this, 12n equals whatever answer is, and we just throw in the feet. So we could just do 12 times 30, and that's going to give us the answer 360 inches. We could do it that way. We could have also just set up a proportion. But once you know what you're solving for and you can find the important information, you can work through a word problem just as easy as example 1 and example 2, and we did them just using proportions. So here is one I want you guys to try on your own. It says an adult male of average size, which is smaller than me, has about 6 quarts of blood in his body. So approximately how many cups of blood does the average adult male have in his body? So you're looking at this going, well, I need to know how many quarts are in the body and how many cups go into a quart. And then from there, you could probably set up a proportion and solve for it. So come back when you're ready. Show me, see if you get the right answer. So the correct answer is 24 cups of blood in an average adult body. How did I do that? Well, first I found the proportion, or the ratio of 4 to 1, 4 cups for every 1 quart. And then I knew that what I was doing was I was trying to equaling that to some amount of cups equaling 6 quarts. And from there then, I just cross multiply till I get the answer of 24. If you got that right, good for you. All right, so all you have to do is give me an explanation using your words, not so much writing it out as an example. But how do you set up a proportion to convert miles to yards? Tell me how you would do that, and then you can move on to the quiz. 4 questions today on your quiz. Do your best, proportions, set them up, and solve. We'll see how you do when you show me your answers and show me your work. All right, we'll see you next time.